Today I am headed over to our Hawks Prairie Clinic, which is considered the, quote, dirty clinic. It's a kind of an unfortunate moniker, but it means that anybody who's got COVID symptoms goes there. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit more scary, and my wife wasn't necessarily very excited that I'm headed right into the proverbial lion's den. I do feel like this is necessary for every community provider if we can, to kind of step up to the plate. So saying lots of prayers on my way over today, but whoo, all about it.
Fear. It's a physically palpable thing, your heart races, you're sweating a little bit, you're kind of showing up to this location where we know that there's an infectious bug. We know it. You're going right there. Swallowing your fear, right? Gotta trust.
My family and I are kind of in this together, and for the first time in my career, I'm having to make decisions that at work will impact my family's health. One of my points in wanting to do this documentary in a very macabre subject and fashion is that should I become injured or unable to tell my story, God forbid if I lose my life in the process of kind of being in the front lines of this, that my children will have a story that they can learn about their daddy. Daily fluctuating between anxiety and fear and trust and peace, and through some really good pastoring here, I'm finding peace in this.
I recall anxiety. We were watching pretty much China. Right? China was where this was blowing up, and it was just beginning to land, and it landed an hour and change north of us here in Seattle. And it started to get kind of apocalyptic fast, right? And we didn't know. I mean, there was just so much fear. And as healthcare providers, we were kind of walking into this big unknown. And will this result in our death, in our morbidity, in our mortality? And it was really frightening. I'm going to show up to work. That's what I signed up to do. But that might lead to my death. I feel like you can have anxiety and you can have peace at the same time. But at any given time, there's kind of like this flux, right? You as a Christian say, okay, I'll go to work. Through the unknown.
It seems like I thought anxiety was spiking. If you would have asked me in January or February of this year, I would have said, man, we're just in the anxious times. But I feel like I hadn't seen anything yet compared to what I'm seeing recently, as people are having panic attacks in our office when we talk about this kind of thing. What I'm seeing right now, particularly with those who do not have a faith, is quite a bit of fear and uncertainty. I can speak that even as a Christian, as a daddy, and as a husband, right now in the throes of a pandemic, I'm afraid primarily for my family if something would happen to me. I'm not necessarily afraid of loss of my life per se, but I am aware of that would be a loss for my kids and for my wife.
Yeah. For various reasons, we kind of have deluded ourselves into thinking that we're in control a lot of the time. And a pandemic has shown a lot of us that we're not. I mean, you can look at the data, right, that says that our visits have gone up profoundly in terms of this sensation of loss of control. And I've seen that anxiety kind of blowing up, right? Mushrooming. It's this opportunity to show them what it is to be a Christian, to show them what it is to have peace that's given to you, right? And to say that there's another way, right? You don't have to do this alone.
I just finished 7 hours of video visits today. The only place in the house that is quiet enough right now with 3 children at home is my basement in my workshop, which you can see behind me and full of stuff because we moved here within the last 9 months. It feels very odd, to say the least, that I'm seeing people via video chat with this view behind me in my workshop. The good news today is that in our area, we have been social distancing since early March, which puts us now 3 to 4 weeks out, and the caseload is flattening. So, good news, and that this is maybe just a big, very flat curve instead of a steep mountain.
It's COVID times, and we moved 6 months before that hit. So that's been a challenge, right? You move to a new location. Any move is going to be challenging. And what was interesting was that kind of towards the 7th year or so in my practice in Wisconsin, my wife and I started to kind of feel this restlessness. And this is the closest that I've really ever felt like a direct divine nudge. Like, hey, there's something else. You need to start thinking about pulling up those roots. So after kind of like listening to this and suppressing, right? Like, no, we're stable. Why would we uproot? My wife and I both kind of shared this together, and we both had this conversation. And through prayer, we elected to kind of do this 2,000 miles from known, landing in unknown, in a new practice without knowing many people. And so that was a big jump.
We had kind of an unfortunate thing the last few days. We received a note from our administrative team that a bunch of our employees are going to be furloughed, meaning no pay. And 16 immediate care providers were also furloughed. And this obviously makes every one of us feel insecure about our vocation right now, which again sounds insane. It just feels like, man, did we make the right call at the right time? Have we moved right into this COVID craziness? I slept kind of poorly last night, but I woke up today trusting. So I fell asleep praying, and I prayed that the Spirit would be just with me today, right? I'm like, please just fill me with your Spirit, right? Even if I see half the number of patients I usually see, let me be a positive force for good today. I mean, in those individuals, why did I wake up today? It's because those people needed me. And that's where we're at. God has this. He's got this in his hands. And it doesn't do me any good to worry. Now getting my heart on board is a different thing.
Just thinking back to that anxiety at that time. I remember getting that letter and going, I can't believe that we're beginning to kind of furlough medical staff during a pandemic. I just couldn't fathom that. I mean, one of the reasons classically is that people go into medicine, at least in part, because they'll always have a job, right? I mean, people need medical care everywhere. And my confidence and faith began to erode when I got that letter. Like, shoot, there goes some stability, right? It was an acutely stressful time. And I remember patience and tension and emotional conflict. You know, here we are, or we're in this situation. This is the path forward. Put that foot in front of the other. But then the heart kind of screaming or crying and saying, no, I don't want to, you know, and you kind of have this tension between those two. And I remember trying to just at times breathe and say, you know what, I don't have it all together, not today, but I am going to hold it together right now so that I can get past this. And I remember praying for that a lot. It's like the nod, like God's little poke that says, no, you're okay. You know, like this is my plan for you.
Something that I struggle with just usually is that I tend to be a guy who wants to control the situation. I tend not to be somebody who trusts inherently well. The most pertinent thing right now is that given the stress, I think my body is intentionally taking it to heart, quite literally, and I'm not sleeping that well at night. In the last few days, I've had some increased insomnia, which is very rare for me. And so at 2 a.m, I find, my feet start twitching and my brain starts going. And something that I'm conceding is that I'm afraid. I'm afraid of facing this virus in clinic.
This is a fear-inducing thing to go into a place that there's this COVID virus. But then there's also this fear as a healthcare provider that I'm not able to provide the care that somebody wants. And so you talk about swallowing fear. There's fear for myself, there's fear of unknown for my family, but then fear that I'm not providing great care to patients. I remember looking up at the time, looking up on the proverbial electronic book, right, of medicine. And I was looking at this, and I'm looking at the COVID-19 treatments. And I remember the article was really short at the time. Right? And usually it goes on a few chapters for any given medical condition. And I remember reading over, and it was like, really? That's it? Triage? I think this is particularly true for providers in the 21st century right now, right? Is that we've kind of got this notion of we can handle most medical things, but to now have something that we can't handle, that's very surreal for us. You have what you have. You have the tools you have. You have the gifts you have. You have the time that you have. You may not have all the tools you need, but that's what you got. And so you give it to God. You have to.
It's been a really rough week. I tried to find a quiet spot, by the way, and my daughter is wandering into the room wearing a giraffe costume. It is that kind of day. I'm smiling right now because after a really long week, we're actually hearing some pretty ecstatic news that our numbers are actually dropping. Yes! This is so cool. To healthcare workers, this is phenomenal because we've been calling this the surge or the tsunami. And then also, on top of that, 3 young kids at home, including the giraffe you can hear in the background. Tensions are high at home. I'm the giraffe! She is the giraffe, she says.
That's awesome. Case in point. New York at the time and New Jersey were blowing up in terms of numbers. We were seeing pictures coming out of those ICUs and those hospitals just completely full. And so it was this amazing moment where we started to know, like, oh my goodness, there's a tipping point, right? The numbers are starting to go down. I mean, we weren't quite dancing in the street, but we were nearly there. I felt blessed at the time that there was this incredible fear, but at the same time, it was beginning to wane. We were learning more about this bug. I mean, just generally a sense of joy that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will.
Welcome to Memorial Day of 2020. I'm here with my kiddos in the background. This is kind of more towards evening right now, and we're just enjoying ourselves as the tide is coming in. What a blessing, right? What a blessing to be here. As you can probably see, we got pretty wide open spaces, and to me that's a blessing after having so many weeks of confinedness, if you will. Pretty amazing thing. I heard this. I heard a sermon this morning, actually by my dad, who talked a lot about Gideon and Judges, and the title of the sermon essentially was some very hard questions and hard times, and he did a good job linking some equally hard circumstances in Gideon's circumstance to our circumstances in COVID. And the conclusion essentially was that God has this, that God is bigger than all of this. And what's amazing is it was exactly what I needed to hear, but then also kind of a cool thing, and that it was my dad. And here I am as a daddy watching these hooligans, and I'm just reminded of how blessed I am that I have a dad who's healthy, whose mind is sound,
I'm blessed to be a daddy with these guys and to be able to be active and play with them. And the point to the sermon this morning was that God has this and that God is here and He is working through us in each other's lives. This is one of those wonderful, supernatural, totally cool, amazing things that God is who He is. That in the midst of this, He says, I am here. I am. I keep being reminded most days that this sensation of full grace, unconditional love, that kind of, it frees me to love and to take care of people. It gives me a sense of wholeness. There's a sense of purpose that in that day, in this day, you woke up for this reason. People, right? That's why we're here. And we have that capacity because of the love that's been shared with us. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love, for it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. There are glimmers of this, right? There are glimmers of this, knowing that there's failures and there's successes daily, hourly, allowing myself the grace to fail, the openness to be vulnerable, and the joy when I do succeed with this. As a family medicine doc, as a daddy and a husband, I want to be this person